Welcome. So my title is Learner Active Classrooms and Student Engagement, or how do I get them to complete their work? Because it's not a problem anyone in here has ever had, right? So I too am from Stewart Middle, Pasco, East Pasco in Zephyr Hills. And we've got approximately, this is last year's data, 930 students right now, 82% free or reduced lunch, 51% male, 49% female. So aims and objectives.
Every country on earth at the moment is reforming public education. There are two reasons for it. The first of them is economic. People are trying to work out, how do we educate our children to take their place in the economies of the 21st century? How do we do that? Given that we can't anticipate what the economy will look like at the end of next week, as the recent turmoil is demonstrating. How do we do that? The second, though, is cultural. Every country on earth is trying to figure out, how do we educate our children so they have a sense of cultural identity and so that we can pass on the cultural genes of our communities while being part of the process of globalization. How do we square that circle? The problem is they're trying to meet the future by doing what they did in the past. And on the way, they're alienating millions of kids who don't see any purpose in going to school. When we went to school, we were kept there with a story, which is if you worked hard and did well and got a college degree, you would have a job. Our kids don't believe that. And they're right not to, by the way. You're better having a degree than not, but it's not a guarantee anymore. And particularly not if the route to it marginalizes most of the things that you think are important about yourself.
So times are changing. They are. And as educational facilitators, we've got to change with them. Our students need to feel part of the process. I mean, for us, for our parents, they didn't really seem as important, although it should have. But for our students, I think with them watching what's going on in the world, them being aware, they, I think, are more aware of how they are supposed to fit in to the world. And middle school, I'm a 6th, 7th language arts teacher. It's a really tough time for them because you watch them come up from elementary school and they're trying to gain their independence. The parents are trying to let go of the reins, allow them to take a lead in what they need to. But do they really know how to? We need to help them internalize the values of independence, engagement, and ownership in what they are experiencing. Encouraging students to take ownership in their learning can make that difference in the educational journey. It can erase that feeling of marginalization. It can make them help them feel that what they're going through is as important as what we are teaching them. So my question is how can utilizing interactive technological tools support a learning active classroom to increase engagement? How can us using these technological tools help them realize that what they bring to the table is just as important as what I am teaching them? As a language arts teacher, I don't just teach content. I do not just teach language arts, as a lot of you know. We also teach the social emotional learning standards that's embedded in what we do. My hope is that in helping them become more self-aware, more socially aware, they will be able to demonstrate responsible decision-making, not only in my classroom, but also at home, and then in the community, and make that difference that will help change our society. So strategies. I'm going to be using a variety of technological platforms because I think they support each other. We've got Canvas, which is a learning management system, good place to keep things, to keep it all organized, because I found last year if I didn't have a home base for things, they never could find what I was talking about. I couldn't find what I was talking about. It was a sad all around. Nearpod is going to be my big stretch. I have never used it before, but I'm hearing great things. An interactive presentation tool, and my hope is to start out as it being a teacher-led thing and get them to where it's a student-led thing, either independently or as a collaborative group. ThingLink I love because of its ability to be multimedia and it to allow them to stretch their boundaries. And Flipgrid, hashtag Flipgrid because they like talking, I like talking. Let's talk together constructively. Teaching them how to voice their opinions in a responsible manner, I think, is something that's not just for school, but if you're going to use Facebook, please use it responsibly. I know some adults who should take that class. So Nearpod, like I said, is going to be my big stretch. By utilizing a variety of these technological platforms, students will be engaged in learner active classroom and allow them to show their abilities in different ways. You know, create, share, interact, monitor and measure. It's like all built into it, so I'm super excited. How will I be tracking this information? Surveys. I'm going to be doing student interviews through Flipgrid, and I'm going to be looking at assessment data both from the Nearpod assessments that I give them and from the CFAs. But my concentration isn't necessarily on them numerically doing better, but I want them to feel better about how they're doing. Because I think that, you know, even if today you didn't get the grade you wanted, but you felt better going into that test, tomorrow you go into that test feeling better, you might do better. Some challenges that I see coming with this is that, like, social emotional piece, is convincing them that it's possible to do this. You know, we have, as a Title I school, as you know, you have so many kids who walk into it with self-doubt, and self-doubt will kill you faster than anything else. So I'm hoping that being able to show them that I'm learning as well and I'm willing to fail, that they can do it, and if they fail, we'll all get up and laugh and, you know, dust ourselves off and keep going. My 7th graders, I worry a little bit more about because they've already invested and failed. And it's sad to say that in 7th grade, that's when they start, you know, they've been through it too much and they start to quit. So I'm worried that I might not be able to convince them to invest into this process. But I think I can do it. You know, trying to talk people into things. For me, my personal fear is creating challenging and engaging lessons in Nearpod. I don't want it to just be a substitution. I want it to be a transformation for them. So one of the things I'm gonna have to do is make sure that they have the background knowledge to stretch and feel comfortable. So what are my expected outcomes from this? More engagement in the classroom, a personal student connection, not only between the students, but also the students to the information, the students to the topics that we've discussed, being able to take not just the story, but the theme of the story out and be able to apply that. Independence across the board, and, you know, if it all works out, academic gains. And I think if I can get those 4 things, I will definitely have hit my target. Which will be here. So my next steps are to educate myself and my students about Nearpod, and also my teacher twin, as I call her, because she is so coming on this journey with me. Shh, she doesn't know. Being careful to take a realistic look at its advantages and limitations. I think one of the problems we often run into with technological tools is we try to make it do everything, and I think we need to take a deep breath and let it do what it does and use something else for what it doesn't do, not try to like cram it all in there. So keeping that in mind, I think, is a big part of the education. My goal is to create at least 2 teacher-led lessons per quarter and 2 student-led lessons per quarter. To have at least 4 data points in place for the December meeting. Those are my December goals. And I think if I can get all that together, we will indeed have a learner active classroom and higher student engagement. Any questions?